Hi. If my makeup is bad, please be nice about it. It's a very new skill for me. My name is Willow. Welcome to Willow's Woods, is what I'm calling it for now. I am a trans woman, she, her pronouns. I'm not an expert on anything, and I don't even think that I have anything particularly important to say, but the reason I'm doing this is because I think it is important to say whatever I have to say. Again, not because of like who I am necessarily, but especially with the current state of the world, I think trans voices need to be heard. If not by everybody, then by other trans people, in order to remind us that we're not alone. You know, I thought a lot about within myself about not doing this until I passed more, or at least had my voice down. Because I mean, like, you can visibly see and hear the incongruity between, you know, this shit and how I'm sounding. There's so much to cover as far as like being trans, but I wanted to put out a documentation of some of my experience in transition for all of my other like sisters and brothers and siblings out there, especially the sisters, because they'll have a little bit more in relation to me, obviously, than my brothers and siblings. I'm 3 months in on HRT, which has been wonderful, and 4 months in on realizing that I'm trans. You know, before getting on HRT, I found it kind of hard to connect to my emotions. I'd find a lot of times when I would want to cry or like feel like emotions welling up and be like, it would be so good to let this out. It would be so good to actually like just sob over this. And I couldn't. But even if I was like trying to like seek out that connection with my emotions and like cry about something, I just couldn't. And that is still something I experienced. 3 months on the lowest like 0.01 dose of estrogen is not going to magically change that for you if you are having a similar experience. But I have cried at work a few times now, so yay. I'm on estradiol. I'm on estrogen and progesterone and spirolactone. You know, these are some of those things where like you first get into the community and like when you first hear about them, you're like, what is that? And then like after a bit of research, you're like, okay, I know what to do with like the hormone replacement stuff. I know that there's like a patch, pill, and a poke. You know, I've got 3 options for how to take it. There's different benefits and detriments to each one, but I've got it. You know, progesterone isn't like heavily researched, but like all the evidence points to that's good for like breast development and feeling better, and it's a natural hormone in cis women, so why shouldn't I have it? I've got this stuff down pat. But then like you learn that there's a whole lot of other alternatives and a lot of discussion around that. At least that's been my experience. You know, I thought I had it down pat, and then I saw, you know, a Reddit thread the other night that had like a bunch of people talking about different, like, I think bucralotone or something. See, I don't even know the names. And so like, please don't look to me as an expert. I'm very much an entry level, and I'm maybe like, you know, entry level amateur, I believe is the step above it. I'm an amateur trans, you know. I would like to do what I can to help other beginner entry level transgenders to help get a little bit of a head start. You know, we'll see if I can help with that at all. So yeah, do a lot of research. You know, it's heavy if you're brand new to this, if you've just learned that you're trans, which is what I imagine most of you will be if you're watching this video. You know, it's a lot. I know when my egg first cracked, like, it consumed my life. It was every waking minute for like the next month and a half to 2 months was like constantly like seeking out trans threads on Reddit, because there's a surprisingly robust trans community in Reddit. They're a great resource, and I've found a lot of connection in there. So like for like 2 months basically, just nonstop Googling questions that I had about being trans, pulling up different subs, commenting on them, and trying to interact with other trans folks. Just figuring out all these questions about myself, because like, holy shit, I'm a woman. Whoa. So, you know, it's a big it's a big shift. It's a big change, you know? If you wake up one day and you realize you're a man, you wake up one day, you realize you're non-binary, you realize you're fae, you know? I don't know much about those pronouns, but, you know, it's all valid. It's all so important, and it's so hard to realize because of the way we're brought up in this society. I, for a long time, thought that I was a Christian, conservative, America-loving, Bible-thumping man. I could not be more opposite than I was growing up. I've lost the, I don't have a direct path in this video anymore, so I'm going to try and lock it down. I'm going to talk more about like the effects that I've had on HRT real quick so that I can get into my experience and how I realized that I was trans. 3 months in, and I have like very beginning breasts, which is just phenomenal. I love it so much. I'm so glad. They're a little small, only like an inch out, you know, but things are different. And I felt those changes start to come on only like 3 weeks in. Your mileage may vary. Is it something that you'll see a lot if you are talking on forums about being trans and like asking questions? Because it really does. Some people go like 2 years without ever getting breasts on hormone replacement therapy. I can't speak to why. It could be genetics. It could be just like what hormones are working for you and not working for you. Maybe you need to seek out a different cocktail or whatever. I am not a doctor, so don't expect that level of information from me, unfortunately. But, you know, it's still good to like seek this out if this is what you feel is for you. And one thing for sure is that like you're valid if you don't want to go on HRT. You're valid if you don't want to get sexual reassignment surgery, tracheal shave, facial feminization. You don't need all of that. You are a woman. You are a man. You are a non-binary individual. You are a person. You are valid no matter what. And that's something that's really, really important to remember. That's something that a lot of people, especially the homophobes and transphobes, are going to try and take from you. Do not let them take that from you. You are lovely. You are so important. You are so valid and lovable as you are. And you're the only one who gets to determine what you are and who you are. That power rests within you. And take heart in that. Take strength in that. Because, you know, there's times where that's going to be the only thing you have as a source of strength. Just remember that you are important. Your voice matters. Your experience matters. And you are valid no matter what you decide to identify as. And ultimately, it's not really a decision. The decision is whether or not to accept yourself. And I think that's a very important decision to make. You know, I didn't decide to be a woman. I even though the envy that I had growing up for women and the wish that I had to be one, you know, surprise, wish come true. In spite of all that, I don't know that this is a life that I would have chosen for myself if that was actually how it worked, you know? There's so much discrimination, there's so much hassle. You have to face the financial investment if you're someone like me who desperately wants to pass and like very much needs bottom surgery. It's a big undertaking. Believe me, I understand that, and we all do. There's so many of us, and despite the small percentage of us that there are supposedly, there's so many of us still. Like, you know, they're taking like that, like sub 2%. They're taking that from like 7 billion people or something like that. 8 billion now, or even like in the U.S. Let me Google it real quick. What the numbers are. Okay, 332 million people in the United States. 2% of that. Can you imagine how much 2% of 332 million is? I'm going to Google it for you, because I can't. It's a lot. I know that. 2% of 332 million. And this is something that came up suggested, so, you know, people are Googling this. I don't need to know how to do the math. I'm gay. $6.64 million. 6.64 million trans siblings in America alone. You are not alone. And you never will be. Even if you're not sure if you're actually part of this community, you are welcome, you are valid, and you will find that everywhere you go, okay? We have all faced so much together already. Just connecting through like this screen. Parasocial relationships aren't great, but hey, they keep us hanging in there sometimes. And there is a connection between you and I that so many people could never understand. There is a deeper level of relation that you and I have than so many other people in the world. There's if we see that little pink, white, and blue flag in someone's bio, we immediately connect on a deeper level than anybody else could. They can't even imagine to, because we know what the struggle is like. We know what the experience is. We know everything that we've been through and everything that we've fought through together as a community. And it's so important to remember that, and not let the people who hate us and want to take us down, not to let them trick us into believing that we are alone, into believing that there aren't enough of us to fight this battle, because that's not true. We all have each other's backs, because we have to, and it's both sad and beautiful at the same time. And I take so much heart in that, and appreciate it so much. I appreciate you, just for being here. That's a lot. That's so much work. That's so much energy. Especially, it's so much energy for anyone, but living like we do, like we have to, you're doing good. I'm happy for you and I'm proud of you. Thank you for being here. So yeah, I'm 6'4", huge. I have very broad shoulders. I slouch a lot, so they might not come across that way, but they're big. They're good for hugging, but not the most feminine looking features, which is fine. One thing I will encourage you to do, if you're male to female and you are feeling very discouraged about like proportions in your body and things you're dealing with, look around at cis women. Look, beauty standards hit us all, and especially if you've been like raised to think you're a dude and you come into this space that like you've probably been aware of growing up, but now you're actually like hit by it. It comes with a force, okay? Like it is devastating. All right, one thing to bear in mind is that this affects all of us women, okay? It's every one of us feels this, every one of us goes through this. It's a process to try and pick apart these societal expectations and define ourselves outside of them. That's very, very, very important. Remembering that our natural bodies are beautiful. We don't need to try and modify them for the male gaze, especially if you're a transbian, like myself. Like, I don't need a dude to appreciate all this. I'm looking for fellow women, It's still a heavy experience, and it's a lot to pick through and make your own path. So please don't get discouraged. There's a lot of women out there with, rectangular figures, broad shoulders, tall, they have the same struggles we do. They didn't transition. Their gender is aligned with their birth gender, They're AGAB? Do we pronounce it AGAB? AGAB. I'm so good at keeping focused. There's just so much to talk about the trans experience, and that's kind of why I'm excited to start this channel. Is like I would really like to get my sisters in here and like talk to them about like what it was like adjusting to me being someone different, because like they all like jumped right on it, and I am so appreciative for them and my cousins and my friends. The people around you have a mini transition around your identity in their minds, but that's for later. For now, let me get into my experience realizing that I'm a trans woman. Unless I've been recording for far too freaking long, stick around for part 2. Come see my experience, how my egg cracked. But yeah, come see part 2, where I talk about how my egg cracked and how I realized that I was, in fact, a woman. Oh, and like and comment and support for the